Let's be honest, the pothos can be a little boring. It's kind of like vanilla ice cream. It's nobody's favorite, but everyone has had it. Welcome to my channel. I'm Cece with One Green Pea, and if you're feeling a little ho-hum about the pothos, today's video is for you. I'm going to introduce you to 5 of my favorite pothos varieties that I think will bring a little bit of excitement back to this really great species of plants. Generally, when we're talking about pothos, we're referring to the Epipremnum aureum, the golden pothos. This is the standard, the pothos you see everywhere. Your mom probably has one. It is a trailing, easy-growing plant with heart-shaped leaves and some creamy yellow or sometimes white variegation on the leaves. This plant is really popular because it tolerates abuse. It can go pretty much anywhere. It's okay with low light conditions, and it just grows and grows and grows. But sometimes popular or common can lead to feelings of blah. So today I'm going to show you some of my very favorite pothos that also are pretty easy care, will tolerate some amount of neglect, but have a little bit more interest to them. Let's get started. The first pothos variety I want to show you is the NJoy. The NJoy is one of the newer pothos on the market. It has much smaller leaves, as you can see, and very distinct white or creamy, slightly off-white variegation on the leaves. It is also a pretty easy care plant, but it does require more light than the standard golden pothos. The reason is the heavy variegation. Anytime you have a plant with less green on the leaves, that's going to mean less chlorophyll, which means it has a harder time photosynthesizing. So this plant wants more light. It doesn't have to be bright direct light, just a little bit more light, a little closer to the window. Perhaps an east-facing window would make this plant very happy. This one is slightly slower growing than the golden pothos and doesn't trail quite as readily, so it stays more in this bushy format, but definitely one to consider for your collection. Next up, the global green. The global green has smaller leaves than the golden pothos, and it's really unique in that the variegation on this plant is a lighter shade of green. So you've got the border around the outsides of the leaves of a dark green, and then this inner section of the leaf is lighter. It's just a fun and interesting variegation in my opinion. This plant wants more light than the golden pothos so that it maintains that variegation, and again, a little bit slower of a grower and more of an upright fashion than the trailing golden pothos. Definitely one of my favorites though. It's rather unique. This third variation is definitely one of my favorites. It's super unique. It is the neon pothos, and you can see why it's called the neon. The newer leaves tend to be more bright and neon green, and they sort of darken up a bit as they get older. But nonetheless, it's just such a striking color and so different than most of the plants that I have in my collection for sure, and that I see very often. This plant does want more light, again, than the golden pothos so that it maintains that bright variegation. If you have this in a lower light condition, the leaves are going to be darker green. They're going to lose that really bright neon color that makes it so special. So keep this one in more light. Next up, the cebu blue pothos. The cebu blue is characterized by longer, skinnier leaves, but what makes it really special is this silvery gray blue gleam that it has to its leaves, especially the newer growth. This plant is, as you can see, a trailing plant, and I have found it to be a rather vigorous grower. Super easy to care for. I have heard, though I haven't experienced it, that if you give this plant something to climb up, the leaves will mature and actually develop a natural split to the leaves. Like I said, I haven't seen that happen, and I prefer mine to be trailing, but that's a pretty interesting feature of this plant. The final variation in my collection is the Marble Queen. This one is a stunner, in my opinion. It has spectacular variegation on the leaves, and the stems are even light in color as well. It is a slower grower than some of the others, particularly because of the strong variegation. It also asks for more light. I want to show you something that can happen with a heavily variegated plant that isn't getting as much light as it wants. What it does is begin to revert back to more green to allow for more photosynthesis. You can see this stem right here. None of these leaves have any of the variegation that this plant is known for, and that is because the plant probably is not getting enough light. So I'm going to trim that stem off. I don't want the plant to continue putting out dark green stems and leaves, because what's spectacular and fun about this plant is the variegation. So that's just interesting to know that that is what's happening when your plant begins to lose its variegation. What's really exciting to me about the pothos is that once you begin looking for variations on the standard golden, there are so many. I also have my eye on the Snow Queen, the Manjula, and the Harlequin. So many fun and different variations on this really standard, great, popular houseplant. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Golden Pothos. I have I think 8 of them in my collection. They are common and popular for a reason. They're easy to grow, they tolerate neglect, and they just always look good. Thank you for watching my video today. If you have any of the varieties I mentioned, comment below and let me know which one. And if you have something different, let me know what that is too, because I'm always looking for fun new variations to add to my collection. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my planty content. As always, my plant friends, let's keep growing together a greener world.